What's up everybody, Dan here from Headwaters Kayak. Today we're in Redding, California on the beautiful Sacramento River. You guys have been asking us to review some inflatable kayaks, and Aquaglide was nice enough to send us a couple of boats. So we're gonna inflate the Aquaglide Chelan 120 and take them down the river. So portability is a huge factor in today's kayak market. So many people don't have the ability to put racks on their car or store their kayaks inside. So Aquaglide solves that by basically giving you a kayak in a bag. So Aquaglide does not include a pump. I picked up this little electric pump on Amazon. I've been using it for my paddle boards, but it also works great for the kayak. You just turn it on, set the PSI you want, plug it in, and let it do the work. And let it do the work. Do the work! So just after I got done bragging about my electric pump, it out on me. I don't know what the deal is, it just won't turn on. That's what I get for buying it on Amazon, I guess, right? Reviews, 0 stars. Okay, I guess we gotta go to the kayak shop and see if Brian will lend us a pump. All right, so we got to the shop, and after looking at it, it looks like I been missing a piece. So I was blaming the pump. Well, it might still be a cheap pump, but kind of user error probably from just like having it live like that. Anyway, thankfully, Brian, you're the man. Thanks for meeting us this morning.
Here.
He's got like a legit, he runs an outfitter business and he puts rafts on the water all the time. So he has a legit pump and he's gonna let us borrow it. Thank you so much, dude. Appreciate it. Woohoo! Now we can get back to paddling. Okay, so this is cool. This little pump has a dial. I can set the bottom floor for 6 PSI and the side pontoons for 3. Sweet. Noob mistake number 1. You have 3 valves. When you deflate, you always have to push and turn them to keep them from, or to allow them to let air out. And then when you're done, you always open them back up. So when you're pumping it up, you don't make that noob mistake that I've made for the 100th time this year. All right, this time with feeling. All right. So we started off by wanting to do an Aquaglide Chelan review, but I think what we're gonna do is the top 5 mistakes that every new inflatable kayaker makes and how to avoid them, because I think I'm at least 4. All right, so the floor is a high pressure floor in it, so it can, it's drop stitch, it can take a higher pressure than the side tubes. So we're gonna increase that to 6 PSI. Okay, now we're inflated. I feel like I just need to give this pump a shout out because I've used a lot of inflatable pumps lately, and this thing is by far the most legit. I don't know what it costs, but it's worth the extra. The hose is way nicer. It doesn't leak air. This dial to set the pressure, super easy. And then it hooks to my car battery as opposed to a cigarette lighter. It just seems way more powerful. So yeah, thanks Brian. Okay, now we've got some accessories to put on. These 2 things are the deflector shields. Sounds very Star Wars, doesn't it? Raise the deflector shields. I don't really know what they're for besides to like add some looks to the boat. I mean, what am I deflecting off the back? I'm not sure, but whatever, they look cool. Then you've got your little foot brace here. This just Velcros onto the floor like this. And you've got a couple of straps here. You can tighten this down, tighten this down. What that does is it pushes the floor down to the bottom, keeps it secure. And then you've got the little Aquaglide seat. It has an inflatable base. So just a couple quick blows. I really like the inflatable seat base because it does raise your center of gravity up a little higher and it gets you more flush with the boat. So you don't feel like you're down deep inside. You're you know, up on top of the boat paddling like you would on a normal sit on top of the chair, as opposed to like sitting in the bottom of the boat. I really like that. Metal D-rings you can clip onto. The seat itself seems really high quality. It's like breathable mesh. All the clips are all metal, they're not plastic, which is kind of cool. One thing I think is kind of cool is they put webbing throughout the boat. So if you wanted to like carabiner stuff off, or they have these little mesh panels that can fit right on here. If you wanted to add sunblock and stuff throughout the day, you can have those little pockets. Also, it's kind of neat. They have a Scotty rod holder. This is a standard base, so you could put any Scotty rod holder right here in the bottom of the floor. And then throughout the boat, they have these little scuppers. So because the floor is elevated up, you can actually open these up and have a self-bailing option. So if you're going through a lot of wave trains, like maybe we will today, you can open up the floor so the water drains right out. Also little D-rings throughout the boat for tying things down or clipping off dry bags. Yeah, very cool little boat. I think the last thing we got to do now is just put the fin on. They give you a nice raked fin, which you can see I've taken this down the river a few times and hit some rocks. Nice thing is with being so raked, I can hit stuff. I don't have to worry about breaking the fin off or hurting the skag box. Chunk, 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 chunk. There we go. So while we have the hull flipped over, we should talk a little bit about the design. One of the things that separates the Chelan from a lot of other inflatable kayaks, even other inflatable kayaks in the Aquaglide range, is the drop stitch floor. And when we flip it over, you really see how it's a defined, flat, planing surface area and then a rounded edge that rolls into it. So you kind of have this little bevel that's going to help with tracking. It just adds a little bit more definition to the hull. And you don't see that in a lot of inflatables. Typically, you just have a big rounded bottom, but this one definitely has more definition than most. This is a 12-foot long kayak, but what you'll see is it has quite a bit of rocker to the whole thing. So you may only have 10 foot of boat in the water. It's also a fairly wide kayak. So anytime you get a flat bottom wide kayak, it's gonna wanna be real squirrely on the water. So what they do is they add a little tracking fin up here that doubles as reinforcement for beaching and landing. So they've got that little piece, and then they do a big fin on the back, and that's what helps this boat track straight through the water. Otherwise, it should ride over waves, no problem, should be real maneuverable. And I suppose if I was to take this on some serious whitewater, I could just take the fin off altogether and have a real maneuverable boat that way. But I am expecting this thing in any sort of wind to probably get blown around a little bit and not necessarily have the same glide as I would see on like a hard-shelled 12-foot recreational kayak, because it doesn't have that keel that pierces the water. But let's give it a shot. So storage on this boat's pretty cool. You actually have a little bit of storage underneath the deck. So if I wanted to bring some camera gear, we'll just slide that underneath there. My big water bottle, I'll probably just put that one right back here. And then I have a dry bag that I'm gonna bring with me. I've got plenty of room back here. What I'll probably do is just clip it on. But I could also, if I wanted to, maybe if I was camping, just add it to that back deck bungee and then clip it in place there too. So lots of storage opportunity. You got underdeck storage if it's stuff that you want to kind of protect, like even though it's in a dry box, still keep the camera gear dry. Yeah, pretty cool. I'm all about keeping my feet dry here. I'm so stoked to hit the water. We've been messing around for hours. Finally, let's go. I guess my first impressions is I'm just impressed with how easy the boat is to maneuver in the current. But then when I'm paddling straight like this on a flat water section, as soon as I get a few strokes in and get up to speed, the skeg locks in and it just tracks true. So very cool that they were able to find that balance. Makes it a great boat for this kind of stuff where you're floating class 1 rivers where you'll have some ripples, but then you'll also have a bunch of flat water. This thing's super, super spinny. Easy to maneuver, feels really, really stable. Actually let a little air out of my seat to drop me down. I felt like I was a little too high for the river. So just hit the valve, perch a little out. But yeah, I'm raring to go. Oh, some spicy waves. That was awesome. Every time I paddle one of these Chelans, I'm impressed by how much it feels like a kayak. Like I expect it to feel like a little raft that I'm paddling, but it doesn't. It feels like I could turn around and surf this wave. Like, I guess it just connects me to that part of me that fell in love with paddling when I knew nothing, but I just wanted to go out and have a good time. And I think you could really put somebody in this as a rental and they could run a river like this and just have a huge smile on their face the whole time without really being too sketchy. Not today. Not today, Zeth, I'm dry. I don't know if I had too much coffee, not enough sleep, but I'm feeling a little off today. I can't believe I just felt a headstand on a boat this stable. I think it says more about me than it does the kayak though. So I thought it was worth mentioning that I got a bit of water in the boat. You know, when I fell over doing that headstand, I had some water splash in. So I thought, oh, it's got these scuppers, I'm gonna try them out. And when I opened the scupper up, I was actually surprised to see that it let more water in. It actually got deeper in the cockpit and didn't drain out. So I think it was a good idea in theory. I think maybe if you were a lighter paddler, it would drain at least below the inflatable deck. But me at 220 pounds, I've got about an inch of water in here. So I'm pulling over to drain it out. Not a big deal. It was kind of my own fault in the first place. But if you were running this thing through, you know, proper rapids, which isn't really what it's intended for, but it would definitely have water in the boat. With that said, even with however many gallons are in here, it still feels completely stable and easy to paddle. But we're about to run the biggest rapid of the day. I thought I should start with a fresh boat without water in it. So I'm gonna empty it out real quick. Dude, this thing makes you feel like a hero. Like, it's so easy. Yeah, like it makes you want to like push it, you know? Well, that was a ton of fun floating the river. These things are incredible little crafts for this kind of water. Class 1, Class 2, lakes. The only thing I wouldn't, you know, I don't know how it would do on a super windy day. I'd like to try it in more conditions. But for the average water that most recreational kayakers are going to be in, this was an amazing tool for the job. I was super impressed by how nimble it felt in the currents. I could just zip into an eddy, peel out, spin the boat around really quick. I did not expect at the beginning of this thing to be as fired up on inflatables as I am. It kind of changed my whole perspective. This happened last time I reviewed it on flat water, but even more so in the current. These things are just so playful and so confident. I could see a lot of people getting into floating the rivers in a boat like this. You know, here we are in Redding, California on a beautiful sunny day, and we didn't see a single other kayaker on the river. Yet yesterday when we were out at the lake, there was paddleboards stacked up like cordwood. So I think the more people that get introduced to something like this, the more we're going to see people enjoying a little bit more adventurous kind of waters. So thanks so much for watching, you guys, and hanging with us today. We hope you enjoyed the review and hope you had as much fun as we did paddling in the Sacramento River. Until next time, this is Dan wishing you happy paddling. We'll see you on the next one. Here, ready? Get this, please. Oh, no. Not the mic!